Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In previous lecture, a detailed introduction of solutions was provided. The link of that lecture is provided in the description of this video. Today, we will discuss a very important topic, colligative properties of solutions. The main topic of interest will be lowering of vapor pressure. So let us see what are the main topics that today we are going to learn. First, we will learn about meaning of colligative properties and what are their different types and uses. Then we will learn about lowering of vapor pressure and how it is used to determine molecular weight of solutes. Next, you will learn about how vapor pressure lowering is determined experimentally. So let us define colligative properties of solutions. The first thing that you should keep in mind that these properties these apply only to very dilute solutions which are nearly ideal. Next thing is these properties we consider these properties only for solutions that are prepared by dissolving non-volatile solute to the solvent. So that is the very important thing. Solutions made by dissolving non-volatile solute to the solutions. So the main characteristic of these colligative properties is that these depend only upon number of particles of solute present in the solvent, and these are independent of the nature of solute dissolved. These are two most important characteristics of colligative properties. First, that the properties of the dilute solutions that depend only upon number of particles of solute present, and these are independent of the nature of solute dissolved. Now let us try to understand what does this mean. So suppose that we have prepared two solutions. First, water plus sugar. Okay. So first solution we have prepared by dissolving sugar in water. Next solution we have prepared by dissolving urea in water. Both sugar and urea are non-volatile solute. Suppose for both the solutions the number of particles are same, then the colligative property will remain same whether it is urea or sugar. The thing that is important is that they should contain same number of particles. So I will erase this. So far we know that the properties of dilute solutions which depend only upon number of solute particles and are independent of nature of solute are called colligative properties. So now what are various types? So basically there are four colligative properties. First one is lowering of vapor pressure of solvent. Second is osmotic pressure of solution. Third is elevation in boiling point of solvent. Fourth is depression in freezing point of solvent. In all these properties, we have considered that the solution has been prepared by dissolving a non-volatile solute to the solvent. And second condition is the solution is very dilute. So now the question that comes to our mind is what is the cause of colligative properties? So the cause of all these four colligative properties is this that when a non-volatile solute is present in the solution, it reduces the escaping tendency of the solvent molecules and vapor pressure of the solvent is reduced. This is the main cause of all these four colligative properties that The presence of non-volatile solute reduces the escaping tendency of the solvent molecules and vapor pressure is lowered. So how this statement is relevant to all these four colligative properties we will discuss later. Right now you just remember that the cause of all the colligative properties is that due to the presence of non-volatile solute, the vapor pressure of solvent is reduced. That leads to these four colligative properties. So one thing more, in this lecture we will limit ourselves only to non-electrolytic solutes. So what are non-electrolytes? Those substances which do not ionize in solution are called non-electrolytes like sugar, urea. These are non-electrolytes. So if the solute is electrolyte means if it dissociates into ions when it is dissolved in a solvent, for example, NaCl. When we put NaCl in water, it gives you Na positive and Cl negative. Then this behavior causes an abnormal results in the colligative properties. So this is a different topic that we will discuss later. To, Today we will limit ourselves only to non-electrolyte and non-volatile solutes. So now what is the application of these colligative properties? These colligative properties are very useful in determining the molecular weight of solutes. With the help of these colligative properties, we will see how we can determine molecular weight of different solutes. So first, let us discuss lowering of vapor pressure. First, we will see what is meant by lowering of vapor pressure. Now we all know that all the liquids, the molecules of all the liquids, they have tendency to escape from liquid state to vapor state. So when the molecules go from liquid to vapor state, so they exert some pressure. So the pressure exerted by that vapor is called vapor pressure. Now this diagram shows two flasks. One is filled with pure water on the left hand side and other is filled with seawater on the right hand side. Seawater means which contains minerals like NaCl, KCl or other minerals are dissolved in water. So it has been observed that the vapor pressure on left hand side, the beaker, the flask which contains pure water is more than the vapor pressure in the flask that is on the right hand side which contains seawater. So what does it mean? It means that the presence of, so how these two flasks vary, it contains pure water, it contains water plus some non-volatile solutes like NaCl. So presence of non-volatile solutes in a solution, it reduces the escaping tendency of the solvent molecules into the vapor phase. Now let us try to understand it slide wise. What does it mean? Suppose we have a solvent, okay, beaker filled with solvent. So I will represent just solvent molecules present on the surface of the liquid. So suppose these are some solvent molecules present on the surface. So likewise, I said that these molecules they have tendency to go in the vapor state. So slowly, depending upon how volatile is the solute, the molecules will escape from liquid state and come in the vapor state and they will exert some pressure. Now, if we add some non-volatile solutes, suppose we represent it by solid sphere. Now, we all know that solution is homogeneous. So, when we dissolve these solutes in the solvent, what will happen? So, instead of these solvent molecules only, now there will also be present some solute particles which are non-volatile. Now the number of solvent molecules on the surface has decreased, so definitely lesser number of molecules will escape and vapor pressure will be lowered. So the point to remember is whenever we add a non-volatile solute to a solvent, it reduces the vapor pressure of the solvent, pure solvent. So the exact relation between the lowering of vapor pressure and concentration of the solution was given by Rawls. Rawls gave a mathematical expression which shows the relation between the concentration of the solution and how much vapor pressure is reduced, and the relation derived by Rault is this: P naught minus Ps by P naught is equal to N2 upon N1 plus N2. This relation we have derived this in our previous lecture, and I have provided the link of that lecture in my description of this video. Please see the derivation where N2 upon N1 plus N2 is the mole fraction of solute X2. P naught is the vapor pressure of pure solvent. Ps is vapor pressure of solution. N1 is number of moles of solvent. N2 is number of moles of solute. Now this P naught minus Ps. What does this represent? This represents lowering in vapor pressure. P naught is vapor pressure of pure solvent. When we add some solute to this, the vapor pressure is reduced to Ps. So the difference is lowering of vapor pressure. If we divide it by the vapor pressure of pure solvent, then we call this whole term a relative lowering of vapor pressure. So from this relation, we can see that relative lowering represented by P naught minus Ps divided by P naught. It depends only upon the mole fraction of solute. So we can say that relative lowering of vapor pressure is a colligative property, and it is independent of the this solute, either be it urea, be it sugar, or any other non-volatile, non-electrolytic solute. If X2 is the same, then P naught minus Ps by P naught will remain same. Now, what about lowering of vapor pressure? What is lowering of vapor pressure? Just P naught minus Ps. This represents lowering in vapor pressure. What about this? Whether this is a colligative property or no? Yes, it is also a colligative property. Why? Because in the next slide we will see that its value depends only on number of moles of solute and is independent of the nature of solute. Now from Rolle's law, we have a relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to N2 upon N1 plus N2, which represents mole fraction of solute. Now, as we already discussed in our previous slides, that colligative properties, these are properties of dilute solutions. So if the solution is very dilute, that means the amount of solute is very less. So N2 is very small as compared to N1. So this equation will reduce to P naught minus Ps by P naught is equal to N2 by N1. We can neglect N1 from the denominator. Why? Because its value is very less compared to N2. Suppose N2 is 1000, N1 is 0.5. So N1 plus N2 is 1000.5, which is almost equal to 1000. So why we have neglected N2 from the denominator? Why? Because N1 plus N2 is approximately equal to N1 for dilute solution. So now for a given solvent, now suppose if we specify the solvent that for comparing the solution of two different solutes, the solvent is always water. So that means P naught will remain constant because water will have at a particular temperature, pure water will have a definite vapor pressure. So we can write this relation as P naught minus Ps will be proportional to N2 by N1. How this relation comes, let us see. So P naught, we can rearrange it as P naught by Ps is equal to, we can take it to the right hand side. P naught N2 by N1. Now, or we can write this as, by keeping the constant out, we can write this as P naught minus Ps is proportional to N2 by N1. If we remove this proportionality sign, we can write P naught minus Ps is equal to P naught N2 by N1, which is this relation. Okay, so that is how this relation has been driven. P naught minus Ps is proportional to N2 by N1. So now if we also specify N1, like I said, K, for a given amount of, for given number of moles of solute, if the solvent is same, the colligative property will be same. So this relation, it reduces to P naught minus Ps is proportional to N2. Now what is P naught? P naught is vapor pressure of pure solvent. Ps is vapor pressure of solute. N1 is solvent. For a given quantity of solvent, the lowering of, for a given quantity and for a specific solvent, P naught minus Ps, which represents lowering of vapor pressure, it is proportional only to N2, number of moles of solute. So what we can say? We can say that lowering of vapor pressure is a colligative property. Why? Because its value depends only upon the number of moles of solute and is independent of the nature of solute. So now let us see how experimentally we can, sorry, let us see how we can determine molecular weight from lowering of vapor pressure. Like in starting of my slides, I mentioned that these colligative properties, these can be used to determine molecular weight of solute. Now let us see how we can use. So this is the relation P naught minus Ps by P naught is equal to N2 upon N1 plus N2, which represents mole fraction of solute. So this relation has come from Rolle's law, already derived. So, so I have already specified these terms. P naught is vapor pressure of pure solvent, Ps is vapor pressure of solution, and solution. N1 is the number of moles of solvent, and N2 is the number of moles of solute. Now, if the solution is very dilute, so this relation it reduces to P naught minus Ps by P naught is approximately, this is not equal, approximately equal to N2 by N1. Now, suppose that we have prepared the solution by dissolving W2 gram of solute in W1 gram of solvent. So, and suppose M2 is molecular weight of solute and M1 is molecular weight of solvent. So from this we can write number of moles of solute is equal to weight of solute divided by molecular weight of solute. And number of moles of solvent is equal to weight of solvent divided by molecular weight of solvent. So putting these values of N2 and N1 in this relation, so this relation reduces to P naught minus Ps by P naught is equal to W2 by M2 divided by W1 by M1 plus W2 by M2. But as I mentioned that the colligative properties are characteristics of dilute solution. So for dilute solution, the relation is P naught minus Ps divided by P naught is approximately equal to N2 by N1. We can write that P naught minus Ps by P naught is approximately equal to W2 by M2 divided by W1 by M1. Now, if we know this relative lowering of vapor pressure and know the molecular weight of M1, molecular weight of solvent, amount of solvent and amount of solute, we can calculate M2, which is molecular weight of solute. So this relation can be used to calculate molecular weight of unknown solute which is dissolved in some solvent of given weight. Okay. So, but generally, this method is not used to determine molecular weight because other methods are more easy to do because it is not easy to measure this relative lowering of vapor pressure with accuracy. We can measure, but we cannot measure with great accuracy. So this method is generally not used, but we can use it in some rare circumstances. So this we can also write this. We can just rearrange it to P naught minus Ps by P naught is approximately equal to W2 into M1. M1 is in denominator. When you solve this, this goes in numerator. W2 cross M1 divided by W1 into M2. So next, we will learn, as I mentioned, how to experimentally determine the lowering of vapor pressure. So generally, vapor pressure is measured using static and dynamic methods. So in static methods, what we do? We independently measure the vapor pressure of solvent and that of solution, and then by subtracting the vapor pressure of solution from pure solvent we can determine relative lowering of vapor pressure. But there is a more important method called Ostwald and Walker's dynamic method, also called transpiration method, by which we can directly measure relative lowering of vapor pressure. We don't need to do two separate experiments, one for solvent and one for solution. We can, in a single method step, we can measure the vapor pressure lowering. So this is the experimental setup for this Ostwald and Walker's method, which contains these bulbs. These bulbs contain solution, and these three bulbs contain pure solvent. From this we pass dry air, and these U-shaped tubes, they contains anhydrous calcium chloride. Please mind it, anhydrous calcium. This arrangement is used only used when we have water as a solvent. Otherwise we don't use this. This has only application when we have solvent water. Now how this works? We simply pass dry air. Dry air means the air which is free from moisture. When we pass dry air from these tubes and these bulbs with the solution and with the solvent, we note their weight accurately before passing the air. Note their weight. So what will happen when this air will pass through these the bulbs of solution, then this will go to this bulb of solvent, then it will pass through these U-shaped tubes containing anhydrous calcium chloride. So all these apparatus, these has been put in a thermostat. So thermostat is used to make the to keep the temperature constant. Thermo means temperature, stat means it is not changing, it is constant. Why we need to keep the temperature constant? If we change the temperature, we know that this vapor more, if we increase the temperature, more number of vapors will be formed, so vapor pressure will increase. So we will not be able to know the change whether this has taken place because of temperature or by passing the air. So we have to carefully keep the temperature constant during whole of the experiment. So that's why we use thermostat. Now what happens when we pass dry air through the solution? It gets, definitely when it will come in contact with vapors, it will absorb moisture. So up to when it can absorb moisture, when the vapor pressure of this dry air it becomes equal to the vapor pressure of solution, then the air will become saturated and it will not further absorb any moisture. So what will happen now? these tubes, they contain some water and vapor. So some vapors had been absorbed by air and they have gone with air. So what will happen? The weight of these flasks will decrease. So there will be loss of weight. So suppose loss of weight is W1. Please keep in mind it is not the weight of flask, it is loss of weight. How to determine? Likewise, I said before passing the dry air, the weight of these three bulbs containing solution is noted carefully, and after passing the air, what will we do? We will again note the weight. So the difference will be given by W1, and this will be proportional to vapor pressure of the solution. Why? Because this absorption of vapors by air, it depends upon how much vapors are there in the above the flask. This is a measure of vapor pressure. So the loss of weight which we can measure, it is proportional to vapor pressure of the solution. Or we can mathematically write it W1, which is loss of weight of solution bulbs. It is proportional to vapor pressure of solution. So when these vapors, they will pass through the solvent. After passing through the solution bulbs, they will go to the solvent bulbs. Now we all know that vapor pressure of solvent is greater than that of solution, and the air that is containing vapors of solvent from solution has a lesser vapor pressure than vapor pressure of pure solvent. So what will happen? Again, it may absorb some vapors. Definitely up to when its vapor pressure it becomes equal to the vapor pressure of pure solvent. So as there was a weight loss in the solution bulbs, in weight loss of solvent bulbs will also take place. Why? Because air has absorbed some vapors from these flasks. So we can represent this weight loss by W2. So not W2. Please try to imagine we passed dry air first through solution. It absorbed some vapors until the vapor pressure of vapors becomes equal to the pressure of air. So that weight loss of bulbs that was proportional to vapor pressure of solution. So when it passes through the bulbs containing pure solvent, now as the vapor pressure of pure solvent is high and the air that is carrying vapor, it has lesser vapor pressure than the vapor pressure in the bulbs containing solvent, so it will absorb further vapor. How much vapor it can absorb? Up to when its vapor pressure will become equal to the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. So this weight loss W2, it will be proportional to vapor pressure of the solvent minus vapor pressure of the solution. How much vapor it can absorb, which corresponds to the difference in vapor pressure of pure solvent minus vapor pressure of solution. Mathematically, we can write it W2 is proportional to P naught minus Ps. Still, W2 is loss in weight in solvent bulbs. So it is P naught vapor pressure of pure solvent minus Ps vapor pressure of solution. Now using these two relations, we can write reversibly Ps is proportional to W1 and P naught minus Ps, it is proportional to W2. So now if we have to calculate P naught, it is vapor pressure of pure solvent. It will be equal to vapor pressure of solution Ps plus P naught minus Ps. If we add these two equations, Ps will get cancelled out. So we can write P naught will be proportional to W1 plus W2. So we can write that P naught minus Ps divided by P naught. It denotes relative lowering of vapor pressure. It is proportional to P naught minus Ps is proportional to W2 and P naught is proportional to W1 plus W2. So we can write P naught minus Ps divided by P naught is proportional to W2 divided by W1 plus W2, where W2 is weight loss in solvent bulbs, W1 is loss in weight of, sorry, W2 is loss in weight of solvent bulbs, and W1 is loss in weight of solution bulbs. So from by noting these weights, we can calculate relative lowering of vapor pressure. Now, like I said that if the solvent is water, we can use the U-shaped tubes which contains anhydrous calcium chloride tubes which are pre-weighed accurately. So when the vapor pressure will come in contact with calcium chloride, what will happen as it is anhydrous? So it will absorb water vapors which are carried by dry air. So weight of these tubes will increase. So if we denote W3 as increase in weight, it is not the weight of tubes, it is increase in weight of tubes which is equal to weight of tubes after experiment minus weight of tubes before experiment. It is W3. So this W3 will be proportional to what? Dry air is carrying the vapors due to pure solvent. So this W3 will be directly proportional to the vapor pressure of pure solvent denoted by P naught. So instead of W1 by W2, if the solvent is water, we can use the U-shaped tubes which contains anhydrous calcium chloride, and W3 is the increase in weight of these tubes. So we can use this relation also to calculate the relative lowering of vapor pressure. P naught minus Ps divided by P naught is proportional to W2 by W3, where W2 is loss in weight of solvent bulbs and W3 is increase in weight of U-shaped tubes. So by these two methods, we can determine relative lowering of vapor pressure experimentally. So as I said, it is not easy to measure the lowering in vapor pressure. So this method is generally wider to calculate the molecular weight of solute. So I hope you might have understood this concept of Ostwald and Fokker. So this was all about today relating to relative lowering of vapor pressure. If you like the video, please do subscribe to my channel and like the video. Thank you.